Hello everyone, welcome back to the .NET world. Today we will going to see a front-end interview question which is difference between observable versus promise, or if I say difference between two RxJS operator of observable versus promise in Angular. So first we will going to see the difference and then jump to some of the example. The first difference is observable and promise both are used for the asynchronous operation, but observable can also be used for the synchronous operation. The second difference is observable can emit the multiple values, or if I say observable can send the request and get the response continuously, versus promises can emit the value at a time only one, or if I say promise can send the request and get the response at a time only one. Third difference is in promise you cannot cancel the request. So once you send the request, you will going to get the response whether it's a fulfill your response or rejected. But in case of observable, you can subscribe the method if you want to get the response, and also you can unsubscribe the method if you don't want the response. The fourth difference is observable can be used for the lazy loading. So when we subscribe the method, at that time only it will going to execute. But in case of promise, we cannot achieve the lazy loading because it will immediately execute on creation. The fifth difference is observable can use other RxJS function, or if I say operator like filters, map. But in case of promise, you cannot use other RxJS function or operator. Now we will going to see some of the example which we discuss in difference. So over here I have created one Angular project and I will going to write one observable. Observer. I'm creating new observable. Once now I will going to subscribe this method, observable method. Right, so observer dot subscribe and मैं यहाँ पे प्रिंट कर लूँगा dot log. If I run this code, you will going to see output as a Umang. Umang is printing over here. This is the syntax of the observable. Now I will going to write the syntax for promise. This promise response. Promises. In promise we use then keyword, and I will going to print dot log. Here I can write the way to differentiate between observable and promise. Now if I save this, see Umang has print from observable and the way has print from promise. Now the first difference is if I write response three times, three different response. Next, here it will be the way. Right. Next. Right. And for now, I will going to comment this part for the promise. Now if I save this, issue is coming. There's one more bracket. Yeah. So if I save this, so as you can see over here, Umang, the way .NET has been came. Okay, so it emits the multiple value. So observable is used to emit the multiple value, or if I say to get response continuously and send the request continuously. The same if I write in a promise, it will not going to give you the other two value. Why? Because promise only emit the value at a time only one. Okay, so it emits the, or if I say it send the request and get the response at a time only one. So same if I write, so same if I write in a promise, and I will going to comment this part. Now with this print over here. Next will not going to come. Yeah. Now, if I print this, see only I am getting the umang for promise. Why? Because it's emitting, or if I say getting the value at a time only one. This is the first difference between the observable and promise. I will going to write over here. The first difference is observer, it emits the value multiple time. This one emits the value at the time only. Now this is a difference which we discussed earlier. Now we will go for the lazy loading. I will remove part from here, or if I say I will going to comment this part. Now let's go for the lazy loading. For lazy loading, I will going to take the same example. I'm going to use only one value. And for promise also, I will going to take this part. Remove this thing right the way to differentiate between observable and promise value. I'm going to declare this from now. I will going to print one more console over here. Log executing promise. We need to use this. Yeah. If I run this code in observable, okay, if I run this code, it will going to print umang. So once this observable will going to be subscribed at a time only, it will going to print umang. So that it handles the lazy loading. अगर सेम मैं promise print करा होगा, I think this issue is coming. Okay. Okay. Now same thing. If I run this promise, it will going to print first this executing promise. Why? Because promises does not handle the lazy loading. It immediately execute on creation. So once promise has been created, it will execute this console and then it will going to execute this console. So if I run this code, you can see over here, Umang has been print for observable and executing promise has been console, or if I say has been print before the way. Why? Because promise does not support the lazy loading and observable support the lazy loading. So this is the second difference which we discuss, lazy loading. Now we will go for the third one, which is a asynchronous operation for both observable and promise. Again, I need to use this thing. Or if I say I need to go for this. And I will going to comment for this lazy loading part. So why I'm writing these different codes so that it will be easy for you to understand. Now I will for asynchronous operation I will going to set timeout this and put the zone timeout period. I will going to print over here console.log before executing and same console.log after executing. Yeah. Now if I run this observable, see the output. So it is running asynchronously. So if it is taking time to get the response, next response, like Umang Dave.net, till that time it will going to print before executing console and after executing console. And then it will going to print this Umang Dave.net because I have put the timeout over here. Okay. Now for promise, I will going to show you asynchronous operation for promise. And this is for async available. Same thing for promise. How the asynchronous operation work? Take this same from here and comment this thing. As it will going to take only one value. If I say emits only one value at a time, I'm going to add the console. Now we are going to add executing. So before executing and after executing. Now if I run this code, let me comment this for one so that it will be more easier for you to understand async operation of promise. I'm not able to. And yeah, now I will run this code. As you can see, it is running asynchronously. So before executing, then after executing. So once it's waiting for the response, then it will go to print the response over here. So it is running asynchronously, the way it was running for observable over here. Now we will going to see synchronous observable. How observable runs synchronously. So I will going to take the example, same example over here, and I will going to comment this part. Promise. As we don't require the set timeout thing. Okay. if I run this code, see, for synchronous observable operation, over here you can see this is for the synchronous operation observable perform. Now, as you can see the output, it's giving before executing, then response first, second, third, then after executing. So one by one, it's printing our value. So this is for synchronous operation of observable. Now we will go for the other example, which is we'll comment this part first. Now we will go for the subscribe and unsubscribe of observable. So in observable, if you don't want the response, we can unsubscribe that method. And if you want the response, we can subscribe the method. But in promise, we cannot cancel the request. Means once you send the request, you will going to get the response, whether it's a fulfill your response, whether it's a failed your response. Okay. Means doesn't fulfill your response, but you will going to get the response. So I'm going to write the unsubscribe logic over here. To take the same example from above. To remove this part as we don't require, we put some less time. We'll add this observer on result. Now I will going to unsubscribe this result. Now if I run this code, you will see there will be no output over here. Why? Because I have unsubscribed this particular observer result. Same thing if I comment this part, and now if I run this code, you will see the output amount. Okay, so in observable you can subscribe the method if you want the response, and also you can unsubscribe the method if you don't want the result. But same thing we cannot achieve in a promise. This was also one of the difference. We will go for the last one, which is a filter. Okay, we can use the RHX function, or if I say the operator in observable, to filter our value. Right. I will comment this part for filter. Again, I will going to take the same example from first. I will paste over here and comment this part. I need to apply the filter to this observer. So I will going to write observer dot pipe type value. Now if I will going to run this code, it will going to print only umang because I have applied the filter in this observer. See, the output is umang. If I put in the correct way, if I save this, yeah, value is umang. So in observable, we can apply the arithmetic operator, or if I say the function like filters, map, and we can get the value accordingly. So over here I have the three value, but after applying the filter, I am getting only the umang. Okay. Let's just run the and the same thing we cannot achieve in the promise. So if you have any doubt, please write down in the comment section, and for such more videos, please follow. Thank you so much.